2nd of January, Rabbi Moore, Parsha with Rashi Vayigash. Vayigash.
Okay, we're back.
Hey, Mayor, I got to put you on. I got to mute myself for a second.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, he's coming.
Okie dokie.
אוקיי, בסדר. אוקיי, פשכח, כל טוב, שכח ביטוח, כל טוב. I'm muted. Hello? Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
We can hear you.
That's, well, I first got a thing saying I was muted. You wanted to make a mutiny.
They have a mind of their own, these things.
Okay. Let's go. Yeah. Is my father still alive? Pasuk Dalet. I think we're up to your turn, Lou.
Okay.
Vayomer Yosef el Echav.
Vayomer Yosef el Echav. Gisu na.
Geshu. The sheep.
Gishu na Eli. Vayigashu.
Vayigash.
Vayigashu. Vayomer Ani Yosef Achichem Asher Michartem Osi Mitzrayma. Then Yosef said to his brothers, come close to me. And they came close. And he said, I am Yosef, your brother, that you sold
Whom you sold
me to Mitzrayim.
Right.
Okay, so that's 4. Let's see, is there a Rashi? Yeah, there's a Rashi. Gishu na Eli Ra'a Osam Nisogim La'achor. He saw them backing away. Excuse me. He saw them backing away. Amar, he said to himself, Achshav achai nich lamim. Now my brothers feel ashamed. Kara lahem. He called to them. B'lashon raka. With a expression of gentleness.
Expression.
Pardon?
A soft expression.
Soft. Raka is soft.
Right.
V'tacha nunim. and supplication. Veher lahem, and he showed them shehu mahul, that he was circumcised.
Right. Because they had to know, I mean, the story that this rags to riches, this servant became the viceroy of, all of a sudden in a moment became the viceroy of Egypt, was a known story. Wasn't something, so when he sold them, and also the fact that they had sold Yosef was also could have been known by him elsewhere, because Yosef Lemaisa had been sold to Egypt. Maybe this rags to riches viceroy had known Yosef in his past. So how was he to prove to them, right, that he was the real Yosef? So therefore he showed them that he was circumcised. And the Mefarshim explain, because there's a major question over here. The Maisa, it says, we have a Rashi in last week's Parsha, when the famine started, I'll refer you to chapter 41, Pasuk 55.
41. 655.
Right, you have it? Chapter 41, Pasuk 55.
Yes, I found it.
Vatirav kol eretz Mitzrayim. The entire land of Egypt was hungry. Okay? So Rashi says, Shehu kiva tuasim she'atzru, chutz mishal Yosef. All their produce, which they had stored away, became rotten. The only produce which remained, should we say, untainted, was that of Yosef. But everybody else's, even though they'd also taken this idea, it wasn't just Yosef who had stored away all the grain which was grown in the 7 years of plenty. Everybody else did, Why should we have to go and buy from the government, right? Why would we do that ourselves? Okay, so that's what they did. So, but everybody else's grain rotted. Only that of which Yosef had stored away, that's remained good. So now, so what did he tell them? So the pasuk says, "Vayomer Parah l'chol Mitzrayim." Parah told all the Egypt, "L'chu el Yosef, go to Yosef. Asher yomar lachem ta'asu, whatever he tells you, you shall do." So Rashi says, what does that mean? Asher yomar lachem ta'asu, l'fi shal Yosef omer lahem sheyomulu. Yosef was telling them, you want produce, you want grain, okay, but you've got to do that. One thing. You've got to circumcise yourselves. So everybody says, well, this is what happened to freedom of speech, freedom of thing. You can't do this. We should be entitled to food just without having to be circumcised. Right. This is religious coercion, right? So Parsha says, it's too bad. You want to get grain, you've got to listen to what he's going to tell you to do. So Paro, when they came to Paro, and they said, right? This is what he's telling us. Why didn't you yourselves gather? Why didn't you store grain? He announced to you that the years of famine are coming. We gathered a lot. And it all rotted. If that's so, whatever he tells you, do. Yosef decreed against the grain of all the rest of Egypt, which he hadn't stored, but they had stored, and it rotted. Ma'am yigzaleinu v'namos, says Paro. Well, he can just as well decree upon us that we should die. So you better listen to him. You're right, it sounds like religious coercion, but
What?
this is what we've got to do anyway.
Uh-huh.
By the way, Chazal say, why did he ask them to get the multi one to be circumcised? I mean, they weren't going to become Jewish.
Yes.
So the Mefarshim explain that Egypt was notorious for its immorality. Right? And part
right.
of the idea of being circumcised is that reduces the person who's circumcised has his taiva, his lust for sexual desires, right? His sexual desire is reduced by the fact that he has circumcised. It reduces a person's sexual desire. So therefore, that's why he said he wanted to he didn't want to get the Egyptians to do tshuva, but at least to improve their ways somewhat. So therefore, that's why he said he wanted everybody to be circumcised. This way they will be not as lustful, and they will improve their behavior. Okay? Upon him, if that's the case, that Yosef got all of them to be circumcised, so then you've got a major question over here. If everybody's circumcised, so what's he showing them that he's circumcised? Everybody's circumcised.
It's
Right.
or it's not saying he literally pulled down his pants and showed them his organ. It's a metaphor saying that he showed them that his character.
Possibly, but it's more than that. It could well be that he, I wouldn't use in terms of pull down his pants, but he did actually show them that he was. But the point is, the Mefarshim explain that even though he had all the Egyptians circumcised, but there's one aspect which the Jewish circumcision is different from a regular circumcision, is that's what's called priya. As besides cutting off the foreskin, what is left of the foreskin is pulled back, and that Yosef did not require of the Egyptians. But since Yosef was the son of Yaakov Avinu, so his circumcision was different from everybody from all the irregular Egyptians. So therefore, in that respect, he showed them that he was their brother, because only the sons of Yaakov had their circumcision done in such a way with priya, which means the extra foreskin was pulled back. So thereby he showed them that he was really a son of Yaakov Avinu and not some circumcised. Okay. Let's go on to Pasuk Hey.
Okay. Biata al teatvu bi'al ichar ve'nechem ki mechartem oti hena ki limchia
Lemichia.
Lemichia shlachani Elokim lifneihem. Lifneichem, right. Okay. So, and now, do not be distressed. Do not
be upset.
Upset you about having sold me here.
Translated it.
Okay.
Pasuk
5.
Not be upset or angry with yourselves.
Oh, we're angry with yourselves for having sold me here, because it was he calls it a supporter, mechia, I guess, of life that Hashem sent me ahead of you.
Right. So mechia means sustenance, really.
Oh, right.
Right? Kila mechia means to be a provider of, Hashem has sent me before you to be a provider of sustenance.
Uh-huh. Okay. And Rashi says, Lemechia, which is provider of, he calls it life, sustenance, Lihiyot lachem lemechia, to be a supporter of life for you.
Right.
Oh, lachem.
That's Rashi adds in the word lochem.
Mm-hmm.
Why does Yosef not say, I forgive you?
This is a major question. And in fact, the Mefarshim asked the question. Many, many years later, we have what's called the Asore Haruge Malchus.
Hmm.
The 10 great Tanoim, with various question was it was at one particular period or was it spread over some time? The 10 great Tanoim were put to death in various very cruel ways as a kapara for the sale of Yosef, for the 10 brothers who sold Yosef. Which is also a question because there weren't 10 brothers. There was, what happened to Reuven? Reuven didn't really participate. That in itself is a question in itself. I'm not going to go into it right now. But anyway, there were 10 Haruge Malchus, those who were killed by the king, by the Romans, many of them in a very cruel manner. They were killed by the Romans as a kapara for having sold Yosef. The 10 brothers having sold Yosef. And the idea, in fact, we say this twice a year, one in the Kinos in Tisha B'Av, on Tisha B'Av, and also we say it on at the Musaf, on Rashi, on Yom Kippur. We say it by the Slichas after the Avodah on Yom Kippur and the Chazar Sashat. We also say this. It's like a, should we say it? It's like a slicha, part of like a, we have slichas. I don't know how you term it in English. It's like a piyut, maybe it's the right word. I don't know how to translate piyut in English either. It's a certain section which we say and we recount what happened then. It says basically that the Roman king said, well, it says in your Torah, anybody who sells a human being, right, sells a fellow Jew, and he kidnaps a fellow Jew and sells him, he's chayav misa. So what were your 10 ancestors, the 10 Shvatim, the 10 sons of Yaakov? They kidnapped Joseph and they sold him. So they're all deserving of death. And therefore there's no greater tzaddikim than you are. You have to be in the place of them and you have to suffer that you will be put to death in place of the 10 Shvatim. And it says the whole thing that Rishmael Kohen Gadol went up and he mentioned the divine name and he went up to Shemayim and he asked them, is this indeed a decree ordained in heaven? And they told him, yes. Kitzah, the whole thing, anyway, the mice of these 10 tzaddikim were put to death. The question is why didn't Yosef forgive them? It doesn't say anywhere that Yosef forgave them. And in fact, even later on, at the end of Parshas Vayechi, it says there that the brothers came to Yosef and they said, we're sorry after Yaakov Avinu had died. You said you intended to do some evil to me, but Hashem turned it for the good, so don't worry about it. So the Mefarshim, I can't remember which one of the Mefarshim, the famous Mefarshim says that he never actually said to them that he forgave them.
Oh.
Even though it was sort of implied. He says, think nothing of it. Don't worry. Hashem turned it everything for the good. But he never actually said he forgave them. And therefore, as a result, these 10 tzaddikim had to die a bitter death as a kapara for what the 10 sons of Yaakov had done.
What do you mean when you say a kapara?
It means in order to, it means you talking about is a kapara for the actual 10 sons of Yaakov or kapara for Klal Yisrael? I'm not sure. But it means it's an atonement. They've done an Aveira. They were deserving of a punishment as a result. So they had to suffer a bitter death as a thing. And you're asking a good question, because why didn't, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu felt that the brothers were culpable for what they had done and Yosef didn't forgive them, so the brothers themselves should have died a bitter death. Why is it only later generations, so many generations later? And what happened all the time in the meantime? Why was only to do a wait to the time of Rabbi Kiva and actually it doesn't mention Rabbi Kiva as one of them. It says Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol and Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. I'm not sure it was Rabbi Shimon Gamliel or Rabbi Gamliel himself, who was the Nasi, and Chanina ben Teradion, and various other famous Tanoim who suffered a bitter death as a kapara for what the 10 tribes had done. But it's a major discussion, it's a major thesis what this whole Indian is. But the Maisa, that's what the Gemara says. They came as died as a kapara for what the 10 tribes had done.
Do you know where in the Gemara it says that?
Offhand, I do not, but I can look it up for you. It's my homework for the weekend. Okay?
I appreciate that.
Okay, let's continue.
It's Lou's turn.
Lou.
Sayim ha'ra'av bekerev ha'aretz v'od chamesh shanim asher ein charish v'katzir. Because these 2 years, the hunger,
Famine. There has been famine.
there has been famine in the land, in the midst of the land, and there are 5 more years
Right.
that there will not be plowing or harvest.
Right.
I thought we learned that the famine stopped and it wasn't 5 more years.
But that wasn't, Yosef didn't know that, because that was in a special source of Yaakov Avinu, that when he came down, the famine stopped.
I
So
see.
that was something unexpected.
Okay. Rashi says, Ki ze shenasayim avru, they have passed. Mishnei ha'ra'av, the years of the famine.
Right. Means that 2 years have passed of the famine. And there's going to be another 5 years. Okay. Let's continue Parsha Zayin.
Okay. Let's see. Vayish lacheni Elokim lifnechem lasum lachem she'erit ba'aretz ulhachayot lachem Lifleita Gedolah. Okay, and Hashem sent me ahead of you. Lashum Lachem.
Laskum,
Oh,
lachem.
Lasum. That's not from Lasim, is it? No.
To put, literally means to put for you.
Oh, okay. So, the support for you. Sherit Ba'aretz, the rest of the land, and
Sim lachem, that you should be, to prepare
Sherit
that there be a remainder of you in the land.
in the land. Oh, okay.
In other words, that you should, some of you should survive.
Uh-huh. Right. And l'chachayot, to sustain you, l'fleita gedolah, for a great fleita, deliverance.
Yeah, so I translated, I remember I had great difficulty in translating this passage. And to sustain you so that a great number of you survive.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. Okay, there's no Rashi there, so go to 8, Chet.
Yeah.
Biata, lo atem shalachtem oti, hena ki,
Hey, no,
oh, hena,
man.
okay. Ki, Elohim, vayisimeni, le'av lefaro, u'la'adon lechol beito, u'moshel, b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. Okay. So and now you did not send me here, Hena, but it was Hashem. And he yes, put me, I guess, appointed me as a father to Pharaoh and a master of his all of his household.
Okay, so now what is Vayisimenu la'ov lefaro? Literally means a father to Paro. Rashi's going to dwell on this. What does that mean? A father to Paro.
Okay, and ruler over all the land of Egypt.
Right.
Okay.
So basically, it's interesting that Yosef mentions three major positions which Yosef had in Egypt. He says, "Vayisimeni la'ov lefaro." Let's see what Rashi says.
Okay.
La'ov.
La'av, as father. Lechaver ulepatron. Okay, as a friend and as a patron.
Yeah, so patron means a patron, but it means a counselor.
Oh, a counselor. Oh, patron is counselor. Okay.
So basically, it comes out as follows. He was in charge of the think tank, as they say, he was the major advisor to the king. That was the fact of Lefaroi. Adon L'chol Beisoi. He was in charge of the White House. Okay? Adon L'chol Beisoi. And Moshe he was also the ruler of the entire land. So basically, Yosef had all the major positions in Egypt. He was the chief advisor to Pharaoh. He was in charge of his entire palace, and he was the ruler of the entire land of Egypt.
Wow.
When he had time for all these things, I really don't know. But so state. Okay. I think at this point we will be, even though there's a lot more here in the Parsha, but we'll stop here. And I wish you all a very good Shabbos.
Okay. Have a good Shabbos, Rabbi.
A good remainder of your Hanukkah.
Thank you. Thank you. Be well. Kol tov. Ferech and Hanukkah. Be well.